the things we're talking about, especially in emerging economies that we're talking about. And the reason I'm going to bring it out is that there's such a shift from what the literature talks about and what is actually happening in the markets. It's not just that the stores are modernizing, not just because the format retailers are coming in, but it's effectively small format retailers and stuff like that. That's something which is happening in the case, which the modernization process brings in that there are new ideas coming in and it's getting adopted by different retailers. For example, even though the share of the what we call organized retail or the modern format retail is just about 6 to 7%, but the impact is already being seen by even small retailers actually modernizing themselves, even if they are not actually classified as a modern organized retailer. The other thing that, so therefore one is the whole structure of the market is evolving. Market structure, that itself is a gold mine of understanding what would happen to the industry. And this is something which question was asked to me, that would the Indian retail go the US way or the Europe way? Or some other kind. Interestingly, the answer to me, I'm not yet found the final answer, but the answer to me seems to become more out of history and sociology than out of market. The reason is simple, that the kind of practices that the retailers have, they say age old, that if you really study them, it's only the what that comes out of it. They don't even know why am I doing it. Because it's just there, they've been doing it since ages. So they don't even know why they're doing it, why is it good or bad, what it is. And in doing that, a huge amount of role of culture is coming out of that space. So just to give an example, you will find that communities are defined by the kind of trade that they are in. So jewelers as a community, blacksmiths as a community, cobblers as community, traders as community. And if that is what it is, then I think the whole amount of whole aspect of how and who buys from those stores also needs to be looked in a different perspective. It is not so eminent in urban markets because of the migration that happens, and therefore a lot of normalization happens in urban markets. But as we go to smaller towns and to villages, the roles of social factors, as simple as caste, become very important. That there are inclination towards favoring a particular group of people when I don't want to buy a product for that. So the store choice, which has been studied so much internationally, suddenly when I realized that it is something which is not giving answers. All that is there. Not that these are not there. These are important factors. But those factors, number one, they are not sufficient. Number two, even if I have to look to them, we need to be finding as to what is the definition of those factors and look what is so valuable. For example, just a question of convenience. We just ask people, so what is convenience? Right? And classically, convenience has been defined as access to the store, which is rather physical. But here in this case, in India, if you look at, convenience is something that is defined in so many ways. It's not just access to, or let's say, location of the store. It's about time of opening. It's about access to phones. It's about home delivery. It's about that person being my neighbor. So the whole convenience is because this guy is my neighbor, I don't go to the store, I just tell this guy that why don't you come and do it, right? The other form of convenience is that there are umpteen number of instances where this retailer gets you product that the fellow has never dealt with. Simply because credit is also one aspect of convenience, yes. Simply because this fellow is saying that, look, you buy from me, anyway I go to the main market to source things for me, I'll get you something that you don't have. So the whole assortment plan is very, very different. It's something which is interesting. Now, this study that Suraksha was mentioning, we have just finished about 60 in-depth interviews of retailers who sell to rural and BOP markets, and we were trying to understand what is the visual merchandising strategy. as to how do they decide what product to display, how do they display, and I have to show it to see what it does. He says, look, or maybe here, he's sitting there, right? He says, this is where I'm sitting. Whatever is within this speech is important to me in the stock. What is not, you place for me. How do I actually conceptualize this? That's the question. It's an arm's length that we are talking about, right? But how do you conceptualize the visual merchandising in this perspective? And that's the challenge. So, looks like the dimensions, so when we go back to literature and see dimensions seems to be coming out, but the definition of those dimensions is something very, very different. And there are newer and newer dimensions which are coming in. Because the market is evolving, consumers are evolving. So it's not just a question that the selling way of selling changes when you have a new format coming in. The whole way of buying also changes because consumers are not used to buying that way. So just to give an instance, when the new format stores open, new format here is defined as you have access to product, which is somebody serving you across the counter. For quite some time, the customers would not touch the products because they're not so used to it. So browsing would only mean visual browsing, not be going and picking up. Because they were not, so it took quite some time for people to get conditioned. And even now, after almost 15 years, still many consumers are not comfortable picking because they are actually buying on stores, from other stores, which doesn't allow these kind of facilities. So when I say access, when I say good display, I may have done a beautiful display, but it doesn't translate into.
Is there any online market there?
Yes, I'll come to that. Online is the business which is coming out, which I thought I'll talk to as we look at new things which possibly is coming. So the point I'm making is that there are so many things that is happening in such markets, which is getting redefined, both from the structure perspective, from the consumer perspective, from the way the retailer interacts, from the role of the salesperson. So, for example, one of the PhD students who is now faculty with us, he was doing the work on touch. And one of the aspects of touch that is studied internationally is touch by the salespersons. And it has been found that when a salesperson touches, the chances of it goes up. You can't even think of studying this factor here. Because culturally, that's not acceptable. It will just seen at that. Now the whole issue is therefore, how do you create this kind of a personal touch without touching the person kind of a thing? And how does it happen? That's something which is there. So newer and new definitions, new of looking at whatever is there, and therefore I think as a researcher, as a student, as a PhD or otherwise as faculty, I'm also a student. Sometimes I come in, you come in something which is pretty intuitive, and this is a question that we were discussing in the previous session also. When I go back to the literature, I actually do not get support, especially in marketing, because answers are maybe coming from something different, right? Come to Rajesh, who is sitting here, he is starting on a work of seasonal markets, where it is very, very interesting. The role of different communities is very defined in that. So one community is the manufacturer and the supplier, other community is the trade, the retail is, right? And retail is mixed. And in a city like Ahmedabad, which has somehow become a place where they say that two communities don't get together each other, but there is no problem at all when this happens. So when we started to study, and especially this happens in the case of seasonal product, festival product and seasonal product. Now suddenly we realized, and when we started studying, that marketing literature has not addressed religion as a major factor in terms of this kind of particularly retailing and consumption. So that has opened a dialogue. However, it makes his job much more difficult now, because he's going to bring a dimension which has not been researched much. And then so he will have to be facing questions which are normally been answered by somebody. In fact, he has studied something else which has been answered by literature. But that also leads to higher level performance if I want to publish somewhere. Because the questions that are going to be asked is going to come from a different cultural context. So that is another difficulty that one faces when you're working, especially in retail. I'm finding it much more than in marketing or product development. Similarly, for example, Sean, who is here, is working on choice overload, right? And it's a classical this thing of choice overload. So, and that with this example, I want to bring out the whole thing whether the phenomenon exists or not. You know, we were trying to study choice overload, and suddenly we realized that people don't feel choice overload because more you increase the variety, more they enjoy it, right? So how do you? This is very well established choice overload phenomena in the assortment planning. That how much should I be doing? And suddenly I realized, and we actually we hit the store and we realized, we talked to customers, we realized that people are enjoying more choices. So he has completely thrown this thing and
That's customer supported.
you're right. So therefore it's completely counterintuitive, right? And then we are saying consideration sets a big form based on that. And whole studies say that there is either inclusive or excluding. There are two methods of. But when we went and observed in the store, people are using actually both. Now the moment I bring that, I get away from reality because actually it's both. But if I have to really manipulate and do an experiment for that, I'm dead actually. So what I'm saying is that issues which are coming in are different. That's something which is there. And store as we have all studied store as a shop, but shop as conditioning behavior, trust, talks about situation. And the moment I get into the store, things start change. The same person who behaves in a way, the person doesn't behave similarly when you get into the store. And we borrowed from your work, from one of the work that we did on touch. How touch influences product attitude and shopping intentions. Right? And we found that it changes from format to format. So the situation in which the shopping is happening is actually changing the role of touch, which is something which we have not emphasized that. And the biggest difficulty that we faced in actually doing that study, that PhD work, was what product we would choose. And so what we did is that we had to observe the store where there is haptic active touch. And we found 123 products that people, out of all the assortments, 123 products that people actually touch, others they don't even touch. And in that touch also you had the product which were packed, product which were in plastics, product which were visible, all kinds of things. We came to about 26 products where the touch was supposed to be high, so we checked like this. And 3 products which came highest was bed sheet, mobile phones and Apple. Not Apple as a brand, but Apple as a product. Food, Apple food, right? Which was never there when we did. So the point I'm trying to bring it out is that a lot of things that we read from literature, and this is why I've been saying to everybody, is sometimes we get flabbergasted, sometimes we get actually myopic by reading literature. But this is what is being said, and we forget that there may be some truth out there itself. And here in India and other emerging markets that I'm finding that a lot of truth has not yet been captured. So the role of qualitative research becomes very, very important because the survey doesn't say it, and especially in retail, survey doesn't bring out everything. Because for the simple reason that people are not behaving the way they would say. More than that, the stocks are not very well defined. The definition is itself different. So for example, when we do a study on store formats, everybody says hypermarkets, supermarkets and this, and nobody understands anything. So that's my definition, my classification. Nobody understands anything. So we actually had to show pictures to say what this means. And then in one of the studies, the respondent said, how can stores be like this? Because they've not seen this. So this is unreal. They actually rejected the whole thing. We're trying to do a conjoint on that, and they said it doesn't exist in the world. a whole lot of, because a lot of new things are happening. That's something which is happening. So we need to be here in this case, especially working with emerging economies. A lot of things need to be checked as to whether what definition right or not, whether the construct exists at all or not. So it is very exciting to work in a phenomena we start with working in, because that's what the cutting edge research that's happening around. And when you come in here, that doesn't exist. So that's something which is there. The other thing that, and this is something that I would request most of the researchers here, is actually using scales. From anything measurement, we do use scales. And what I'm finding that a lot of research that comes to me for review or whatever, the scale has not really been checked out. It has been brought in. And because it has been used in other cultures, so it is accepted that because it has been in other cultures, there's scale also. But in many cases, what has been found that the items, the dimensions of those scales don't exist in this kind of context. Now that again pushes people to go through much more rigor, as you say, rigor and relevance, both has to come out from the scale. But to start with, what research is not about being blind to start with.
Taking directly from literature, what methodology they have followed and some stuff like that.
No, I'm not saying that we don't adopt. I'm not saying that adoption is important, but I think adaptation is something that is more important than adoption. And which is the other thing which happens because we lag a little bit. I'm talking of India and part of Asia, because we lag in developing our own methodologies and we tend to borrow. So a lot of in-fashion techniques are used. So suddenly last 3 years I've been saying hundreds and hundreds of people on SQL.
Because I'm working on learning of fruits and vegetables. So context of America may be different from India. And Netherlands may be different from India and America again. So
I'm not saying this is may, it is different.
okay.
So therefore, as a researcher, one has to be very, very conscious of this thing that is going on. The other thing which is research, goldmine of research is how the markets and different formats are evolving. So for example, online. Online adoption is happening like anything. Right? And it's not the computers, it's actually the mobile phones which are driving. Right? By some estimates, by 2015, India would have 300 million smartphones. Right? And by some estimate, 30 to 35% of them are going to be good AI, not in another way. But that changes the whole landscape of India. Right? And people are buying. The online business is growing, and it is expected to grow bigger, instead of become bigger than organized retail in very short, maybe 3 to 5 years. So what a physical organized retail, modern format retail will achieve in the next 5 years, online will achieve it much faster. This change will work like anything.
This is a question. Because the way it's saying in the US is it's not, the online versus offline is not the right way to look at it. I don't know if that's true here, but there it's omni-channel, so it's across channels. So people take the phone into the store, and it's more like that. Some of it's at home online, maybe on your computer, on your tablet, on your phone, but a lot of it is just across all these different channels. Is that the case here?
Yes, it's happening here also. For example, you go to one, let's say, electronics store, you look at the QR code, look at the barcode, and you go to the website and check what are the prices and others. Right? However, the penetration of the internet is not so high yet. So that's something which is still there. But the hypothesis, this is the paper which I'm working on, which perhaps we'll share that in Mexico, this paper that we're going to share in Mexico, is that because physical retail will not grow at that space, the omni-channel would actually consist of small stores and online stores. So that's the hypothesis that we are working on. Because if you look at markets where hypermarkets have not picked up, online has picked up much faster, which China is also on. So this is a hypothesis that we have, that online will become actually the main channel as against the small format. And the reason for small format is more social than
Right.
economic.
So what you'll see is the functionality will change, and it can be within one brand. Some's
Yes.
online, some's
Yeah,
offline.
right. And the other thing which online has done everywhere, and which is going to happen everywhere, is one of the biggest issue that we face in channel management and sales management is online cuts across territories. So how do you really manage territories? How do you manage conflicts in channels? That's something which is coming up very, very. But the way online is being taken in these countries, the way phones are being adopted in these countries is very different from the way it is adopted everywhere. So for example, by some estimate, Asia is highest in buying latest gadgets all over the world. We love those gadgets that we have. And coupled with that, the share of youth in this country is going to turn both things. 60 to 35 population will be almost 45% of the population in the next 4 to 5 years. And those are people who are going to use technology right now. So the full shape of, nobody actually knows what the shape of the retail is going to be, how it is going to, I would always go towards this thing, but maybe my children, they are so used to buying. So for example, especially those where there is no product involved, adoption is very, very high. And one such example is what you call bookmyshow.com. It's a movie and theatre. I mean, they are growing by 500%. And it's largely because of the youth, they find it so easy to do it. So the whole concepts of what we have in retailing itself is going through entire change because of technology, because of the demographics that is changing, and because of the adoption process or adoption behavior in each of the markets. So, and this is something that we were discussing the other day, is that earlier we used to talk about trickle-down effect. Now there is nothing called a trickle-down effect. It just goes to all markets in one shot, right? And even if there is some step function in the sense that okay, this market will adopt, then the next market adopt. By the time the next market is ready to buy this product, new technologies have come. So supermarket going into that, by the time supermarket goes, online is already present. So omnichannel is a given kind of thing. So, but the problem that happens from the firm side, the problem is consumer expenditure is not increasing at the rate at which the split is happening. So earlier I was buying from two places, now I buy from 5 different places, but my spending has not gone up. So the viability of these firms itself is a research to be done. And how today, let's say online is being supported by venture capitalists, but already in this country, it's no more the star industry where they want to spend, because they're realizing that it's not making money as much as they had expected, because consumers are not behaving the way they were expected to do. They haven't changed at the rate that you wanted them to change. So all this makes retailing so exciting to work on. So many things which are happening, so many dimensions. Technology, consumer behavior, structure, flows, the kind of store formats, store choices, everything dynamic at this point in time. Which is the best part of it, that we are in a dynamic situation, and it's actually the 2004 work that I had has already been challenged. As simple as that, on store choices. It's just our 6 years and the whole finding is getting. My paper is getting challenged by people. How could this happen? You could have imagined that happening, that your paper gets challenged and that your work is no more useful kind of thing. That's the kind of thing which is happening. But in that, therefore, the challenge is how do you pick something which will be relevant in a dynamic market? And that's what theory is, right? Basic definition of constructs, understanding the context in which it's happening. The whole effort that should go in actually conceptualizing the research and then getting the right methodology. And the role of, I'm again saying, role of qualitative research is substantial.